but it is the business that is taking the money. So a lot of these traders would never have some form of accounting. They don't have any form of record. You have to sit down with them, sometimes a day, 2 days, just to draw out an account, just to draw up something that looks like, an account, not an account statement, like your business accounts, your financial statement, your financial account, so that we have a picture of what this business can accommodate at that time. Are you guys understanding what I'm saying? There are times where some of them do, but most of them do not. So you have to do like stock taking, you have to put their warehouse, you have to count the things they have. Why would the bank need this kind of record? Because I am a sole proprietor, meaning I'm the owner of the business, I'm the one running the business, even though there are two different entities. There is a possibility that I am mixing up my personal expense, my personal life with my business. But we have to separate the two so that we have a clear vision, a clear picture of what the business is at that time. That is what we can say, okay, this business worth 2 million naira, because we don't want the business to be so encumbered, so weighed down with finance, with loan. You can only access 500,000. Though the customer is requesting for 5 million. Or we'll explain to you that, see, with the way your business is running now, you can only access 500,000 naira. Why? Because of this, and this. So that's another thing you need to do, right? As a business owner, try as much as possible to keep your records. Aside that, the bank would also need your account statement. Most of the time, no bank will give a startup that has not done any operation loan. Most of the time. Why? They would want you to have done at least 6 months of banking operation with them. 3 to 6 months for them to see, okay, is this person really committed to our bank? Is this person really bringing all his funds to our bank? So that by the time they give you money, you don't carry their money to another bank. But also they want to be sure that your business is turning around your goods and your resources as much as you say you are. If you say, oh, I make 500,000 naira a week, and then you have done your account, you've run your account for 6 months, and we see that in the average, they are running 200,000 a week. There is a gap of 300,000. They will give you the loan, but obviously not as much as you want. So it might feel small, but it's going to be beneficial for the business. And also, they would like to, another thing the bank might want to get is collateral. A lot of us do not have that opportunity, but I see these days that some banks are willing to take your business assets, your goods as your collateral, which is what we were doing. It was a big risk, trust me. It was a big risk. I had a customer that, for some reason, she fell sick. She couldn't come to the market for, I don't know, more than 6 months, and the loan was running. The debt was increasing. Nobody was paying, but the bank was never ready to restructure. What do I mean? That they were not ready to rearrange the loan. The customer must pay. Unfortunately, there was no other person to sell the goods. Even though we had the goods, we had access to the goods, but we can't sell it. So it's also a big risk on the part of the bank. That's why I always say, taking bank loan as a startup, let that be your last option. You have exhausted every other option, and then the funds you have is still not enough to start up. Then you can approach the bank. But trust me, you won't get a bank loan. I'm starting a business today and get a bank loan in 2 months. No, that usually won't happen. Okay, so let that be your last option. Start with the little that you have, no matter how small. Start with it and launch. Gradually, as long as you know what you're doing, your income and your earnings continue to increase, right? Then I also need to mention that as a self-funding person, there is something you are going to be sure of. You are going to cut out what I call excesses. You're going to cut out of excesses, you're going to cut out of a lot of pleasures, you're going to deny yourself some, you're going to have to drink garri, like my people will say. You will drink the garri for that amount you're about to say. What does that mean? You're going to save every kobo, every penny. You're going to plow it into the business. That is the painstaking part of self-funding your business. It's not going to be easy, but in the long run, it's going to pay off, because at the end of the day, you say to yourself that I built this business. I did not need to borrow it from anybody. I grew this business. And I've seen or heard a lot of businesses that have grown that way without having to take loans, without having to borrow from anybody. I hope I'm making sense so far, right? Okay, so another one I'm going to mention is venture capitalists, right? This is usually this kind of people do not they don't finance startups. They usually finance people that have been in business for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and they usually make sure that the business they're about to invest in have a management team, or they have some form of organized structure before they can say they want to provide you for money. These are people, their risk appetite is a bit lower than those of the angel investors because they are not ready to take any form of risk. Because they feel if it's just one person, it's riskier than when you're dealing with a whole management team. So they will usually work with people that are in organizations or companies in the limited liability where you have more than 2 directors running the business. Do we understand? So again, it depends on the business you are running. I, as a baker, I'm not going to look for a venture capitalist to put money in my business. It doesn't pay me. It's not going to work for me because I understand my business. If I'm going into something like that has to be manufacturing, I may not be able to run it on my own for a long time. Maybe for the first 6 months I can. But as you go on, you're definitely going to need other people to partner with you. And to get the machines and the equipment that you need, it might be you might need a huge capital. This is where you need people like the venture capitalists. But again, like I said, they would not invest in businesses that are just starting because it's not just one person. It's usually a venture capitalist, there are organizations as well, like financial houses that are willing to invest in other organizations and they are expecting a return from you. So if they give you 5 million, for instance, they will tell you they're expecting a return of 10, 30, 20, 25%. It depends on the agreement you have with them after a specific time. So you're going to be on your toes, right? You are going to be on your toes. So that's why they want to be sure that whoever they're giving their money to is someone that is a go-getter, someone that has a vision. Again, that's where your business plan comes in. If you don't have a business plan, people get money from this kind of people. Another one I'm going to mention here, startup incubators. Now, a lot of people, maybe I'm a business and I run in the real estate industry, right? And I want an office, but I cannot afford to pay rent. There are a lot of businesses that we call startup incubators. What do? They provide you with things like office spaces where you can just say, okay, this is my office. It's virtual. It's not like that. You're not the one paying for the rent. You're paying for the space in that place because you're a startup, right? You cannot afford to start paying a rent. Maybe you're paying a rent of 450,000 naira per month in Lekki because this is where your market is. It's going to be a huge one because your business cannot afford it. However, your business needs an address. Your business needs a space so that when you need to attend to customers, okay, we can meet in this particular place. If you need to send any correspondence to me, please send it to so place. This is what startup incubators do. They try to help you optimize the funds that you have. Again, it depends on the business. I, as a baker, I don't need such because I can actually work from home. If I'm a hairdresser or I'm selling provision, I can actually work from home. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it all depends on the type of business that you have. It all depends on the type of business that you're running for you to know the type of finance that you will get. Another one is government grants. Me, myself, I'm actually amazed that these government grants actually work. They might not come in immediately, but they do work. What do I mean? I once had one of my sisters, she applied for one of these government grants, I think it was last year, and she forgot about it. And somehow she got the credit alert, in fact, twice. She got the credit alert twice from the government. She just applied and let me just apply because it's applying. Let's just check if it's going to actually happen. And they did actually credit our account. It wasn't so much, but you can imagine you're getting 100,000 naira for free, technically, just because you put in an application. They will ask you for some necessary documents that you have to provide because they want to be sure that they're genuine, right? Your business registration and some other documents. And they provided her with the money that she got back into her business. So government grants, we need to put our eyes on the ground as a business owner, right? And look out for this opportunity. Social media, would I say the internet should be our friend as a business owner. And also your relationship with people. You need to be mindful of the kind of relationship. You have to be intentional about the kind of relationship that you have as a business owner. Why? Because you're looking for opportunities. You're looking for, platform to leverage on so that you can get more funds and put into your business. Do we all understand what I mean? So government grants are actually available. Yes, I'm talking about Nigerian government. They do give grants. Grants are more or less like it's not a loan. They're not expecting anything from you. They are supporting the business. That's what grants is. But you have to put in an application. Usually, they might ask for a business plan, depending on the type or where that grant is coming from. Another option from the government is BOI. BOI, that's the Bank of Industry, and I know they support a lot of technical support, startups, agriculture, most especially. They do support a whole lot of. If you're thinking of going into the agricultural line, you might want to look into the sourcing funds from BOI. Of course, you will pay some interest, but last I heard, the interest rate was about single digits. I'm not sure if it has changed right now. But again, you need to have an account statement. You need to have a financial statement. You need to have a business registered. So these are some things that you have to put in place before you even say you want to start looking for funds, especially from established organizations. For friends and family, from yourself, you might not need all of that, right? Because you're just launching that. But when you are approaching established organizations, you need to package yourself properly. Like if I want to sell you this pen or maybe this book, right? And it's not well packaged, I don't think you will buy it from me. You won't because it's not appealing to you. Why should I buy it? There are other options. There are other people that can give my money to. Why should I give it to you? So that is where your plan comes in. That is where your proposal comes in. That is where your organization comes in. I have my business registered. I have my business registration document. I have a bank account, a corporate bank account. Most of the time, when you're dealing with established organizations, they won't want to fund your personal account. They would rather that money goes into your business account. Are we clear on that? It's not that difficult to open a business account these days. You walk up to any bank, they would ask you for, most especially if you have a sole proprietor business, all they need is your registration document from CAC, and then your other, utility bill, your ID card, maybe passport. It only becomes a little dicey when you're running a limited liability company. They are two different, even though I am one, but in the bank, for instance, when I see Tunde and Sons Limited, you're already a limited liability company. The document I request from you will be different from when I see Tunde and Sons Venture. They are two different types of organizations. Okay, I don't want to delve into that because that would take me off the course. Okay, are we on this? Are we getting anything from what I'm saying? I hope I'm not just speaking into the air. Another opportunity we have is peer-to-peer lending. So I have a brief description of what peer-to-peer lending is. It's also known as social lending. It's a new form of lending, right? That is beginning to gain some form of awareness. I think for the past 5 years, it's gradually growing, even globally. It's beginning to grow that we can actually get some form of funding from this type of association. So it's basically using your network, the network that you have, to get funds. That's why it's called peer-to-peer social lending. It's called another name that we have is social lending. So I just want to read what I have here. It's a means an individual can get a loan directly from another individual. So what that means is I don't have to go through the bank or go through a middleman before I can get money from Mr. Molly. I can go directly to him and get funds from him. Why? Because of my social network. because of my association. It's a little funny. I really don't have, it's more like you're going through your IT network. So they look at your profile, they look like things like your LinkedIn profile, they look at your network, the people that you associate with, maybe on your Instagram, they look at your Facebook, they look at a whole lot of things. They look at the people around you. And they're like, oh, okay, if you have this kind of association, if you have this kind of people around you, then I should be able to give, but it's usually small. It's maybe like 50,000, 80,000, depending on your leverage that you have. So, but the truth of the matter is, if you're starting up a business, okay, I always encourage people not to look within yourself. Don't go too far if you want to start up a business. If I want to start up a cake business and I have 30,000, I can actually start up a cake business. What do I need to do? All I need to do is get a small mixer, get my flour, get my sugar, get this, get that. My business is good. But the onus now lies on me, right, to do my sales properly, which is where the challenge comes. A lot of us are not ready to put in the work that is required. We are just looking for funding. If the funding comes and you are not putting the work, that fund will fly away. You will not start all over again. Money has wings. It goes to wherever it is calling it. So if you have money and now you're not putting it to the right use, trust me, it will fly away. It's either you spend it and you don't know where the money has gone to, or you invest it and it is bringing money back to you. That's why they always advise, don't just leave money sitting down in your bank account because it devalues over time. Look for opportunities where you can invest your money. Even if you're getting 4%, 5%, it is bringing something back to you. I hope I'm clear on this. So if I have a vision that I want to start a business in the next 6 months, start gathering your money now. 5,000 naira this week, 2,000 naira this week, 3,000 naira this week. Start pulling the money, the way you pull money for your tithes, right? Whatever money you have, allocate a particular percentage, 10%, 15% of this money goes to my business. Do you understand? With that, by the time that 6 months comes, you'll be amazed at how much you've been able to pull together. But it calls for what? Discipline. It calls for discipline. And the last thing I'm going to mention is the God factor. I cannot, mention all of these things without mentioning the God factor. What do I mean? If I'm looking for people to support my business, before you venture into a business, please always make sure that that is what God has called you to do. Otherwise, you will struggle. Even if people give you money, you will not know what to use that money to because you can't see the results. You must be sure that that is what God has, said, oh, yes, my daughter, go. It's not going to be rosy. There will be storm, there will be turbulent. But because you are sure that God has asked me to go on, no matter what, you are not shaking because you have the backing of the Almighty. So before you go on to do anything, please and please seek the face of God. I can't overemphasize that. Seek the face of God. And then when you have gotten your confirmation, I beg, day your day. Stay on your lane. You're not in competition with anybody. You are not being in competition with yourself, not with any other person. Because you see your brother or your friend driving so car. It's not like you can't dream into, but let that not be your focus. And on the immediate. Focus on what you want to get. And at the end of the day, with discipline, with prayer, with focus on God, and with self-control, you will be able to achieve your dreams. Remember, the church is your friend. When you are looking for help, you'll be amazed at the kind of resources you can get from the church. When you talk to somebody, the person will say, oh, why don't come and see me in my office? Just by talking to one person. But because we don't want to talk, we feel we are shy, we are this, we are that. Please, let's open up, okay? Please, let's just try to open up. I hope I've been able to, share some basic information that we need. Like I always say, as a startup, please try as much as possible to pull your own funds together first. before you start looking for other opportunities. And the bank is, yeah, your friend though, but let them be the last resort because it's quite expensive in Nigeria to access funds from the bank. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much. Okay, yes, I've been blessed by at least the first thing that I learned now is that if you are starting with business, even from a startup, the first thing you need to have is integrity and trust. In such a way that your immediate circle will be able to entrust something with you to start off with. So I think you can start with that and you can do that. You can go into all those venture capitalists, then you can go into bank loans. And also we've learned that you should not always put bank loan as the first option for us. So I think I've been blessed with my presentation. I want to say God will continue to bless you. Thank you for coming on. And also the next speaker, I want to say this, I apologize for not mentioning this earlier. The first speaker we are supposed to have is Business Adebite, but she has a class to take, so she opted to join online. But somehow the time we had with her didn't work with us. I already even hinted the next speaker, that's Mr. Okuronti, but Mrs. Adebite is online now, and she's just willing to do a 10-minute discussion with us on how to grow on the job, how you can grow on the job as a career person. She just wants to give us a tip. She has actually done this presentation before, but it's just for 10 minutes. Please, I just want us to just pay attention. Within just 10 minutes, she's just going to come online, so at least come online. Okay? She's online already. The technical, okay. Okay, so sorry, we are having technical issues connecting with her right now. So I'm going to move to the next speaker, Okuronti Omole. So Okuronti Omole is the MD CEO of Radial Circle. He has practiced accounting by working in PwC before he started his own company. He is here to talk to us on entrepreneurship and sustainability. As a career person, you need those entrepreneurial skills, even as a career person, to actually deliver on the job. For people who have entrepreneurial skills, you can use those entrepreneurial skills to grow yourself, which can also lead you to starting your own business in the future. For example, he started as a career person, as an accountant, and then he moved to starting up an engineering firm. So you can see the versatility. So that's entrepreneurship. So he's going to be talking to us today on something related to that. We want to welcome Mr. Ronti Omole. Thank you for coming, sir.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning, everyone. First, I'd like to thank the youth for giving me the opportunity to come and spend some time with them. Initially, I felt a little disappointed that we don't have so many of us here. But somehow, when Brother Fuga, when he was praying, and somebody said, you know what? You need to keep on admonishing and encouraging leaders for trying to bring this program together, and for us to continue to pray to the other youths, for God to open their eyes, for them to see the benefits of the various programs that their leaders are putting together. And I think that's all what we need to continue to do for them. Also, after listening to Danny, I felt she has said virtually everything I wanted to say. But the fact that I'm here and I've already sent the slide, so I will go through. And as far as possible, forget the big words that I tried to put together there. I will try to go inside and explain what I mean by that. The topic given is the entrepreneurship and sustainability. And inside that, I was able to come up with about 5 discussion points. And the first one is the entrepreneurship. The second is the sustainability. And, from some of the discussions, they were talking about, which he also said, that when we are working somewhere, we need to open our eyes, put in our best, and learn from where we're working. So I decided to coin that as entrepreneurship, and then maybe talk about the benefits. If you take up that room where we're working, and what do we gain? And then I'll just end up by saying 1 or 2 experiences, that highlights. Entrepreneurship is just somebody like Danny who just left. Someone who decided to set up a business on his or her own, and who has the natural urge to create something, to run something, and make money from those activities that he or she decide to run. So we call them entrepreneurs, people who are enterprising. And the kind of business that you set up also depends on who you are. If you are a professional or engineer or naturally gifted person, a musician, a creative person, artistic person, your personal interests will actually guide in the type of business that you put together. But at the end of the day, it's a very, very big space. The business empire is so massive that can take virtually everybody. So don't say there's no space for you. There's a space for you there. And when you were setting up business and as an entrepreneur, she said actually most of those things that you need to do, you look at your ideas, you go through it, you plan around it, you look at what it takes for you to actually set up a business, what you need, what kind of market do you want to enter into, and the competition. You look at what will make people to want to buy your product. If you are selling water, is it packaged well enough that anybody that sees it would like to buy it? And then when they buy it, does it taste good enough that they will want to come back again and buy whenever they see that your product? So those are some of the things that entrepreneurs or people who set up businesses that they look at. And those are the things that help them to continue to be in business. And usually you don't rest on your horse. You need to continue to look at how do I continue to attract people? How do I continue to improve the quality of the services or the products that I'm selling? And then you need to understand the monetary parts of the business. It cost me 5 naira to produce this product. I sell at 8 naira. I have a different margin of 3 naira. And I'll need to invest in buying certain and you get to Z immediately. There are usually ups and downs. But the most important thing is that as the most important thing is that as somebody who believes in his or her dream, five, 10 years, you need to ask yourself, and you see yourself in there in the next 5, 10 years. Do you see bigger horizon in what you're trying to do that after 10 years, you can see to another 10 years in that process? Or what you can add to what we are doing that is peripheral, that can easily be added to what you're doing. So these are some of the basic things that you need when you are setting up a business as an entrepreneur. And the second one has to do with the sustainability of the business that you have put together. I mean, in little words, what we're saying is, how can you ensure that what you put together can survive over time? What do you need to do to ensure that you remain in that business, you are making money in that business? Because business is not charity. You are there to put in some resources, add value on whatever you're doing, or put in your energy, or put in your time, that you'll have been in employment somewhere and collecting money, but you are putting it into the business that you're doing. So you need to ensure that you can run that business for a couple of years. And to do that is just to keep on, when you were starting, you thought about what you want to do, you made a lot of plans, you look for resources, and you get things that will help you to be able to do the business you're trying to do. So you need to continuously looking at it, asking yourself, am I on the right track? Or maybe some of my initial plans are not as accurate as I thought it's going to be. Yes, usually, I mean, when you haven't started something, you think that it's going to, for example, I'm standing here now, I don't see what is down behind the pulpit, but I know I have to go down. I may get there and find out that, oh, the staircase is not really there. I need to go right or go left. So basically, when you're starting something, you try to look ahead and say, okay, I want to start a barbing salon, and the location is Oniru area, mainly because I see a lot of youth going up and down around the place, and I feel that if I have a location just very close to the market, I will be able to attract most of them. And you get in there and you find out that, oh, there's a yellow fever somewhere there that doesn't allow people to drop around where you are. That you never planned for. And then you have to start thinking, what do I do? What time does the yellow fever man come? You know, that maybe I will do things or play my music louder after maybe 5 p.m. or something that can attract people, or do things that can ensure that I have them. So for whatever you're trying to do to survive, to run for years, you have to plan properly, which is what I'm talking about. And then the quality of service. If a customer comes to your place, maybe to have an haircut, if he's well treated and he has a very fine haircut and he likes it, he's going to come back. You know, there are certain things that are personal, that the customer derive internal joy. I mean, a lady goes to the salon, and at the end of the day, she loves the hair, and she gets home, look at the mirror, she looks more beautiful. She has paid for the service, she's gone home, and she now looked at the mirror, and she feels pleased that she actually went to where she went to and paid what she paid. And of course, she's going to be hooked to that particular location. But if she goes there and she gets home and look at the mirror and say, oh, what rubbish did they do for me? And why did I go to this place? Then she starts, regretting of wasting that money and she will not go back there. So whatever you're trying to do, ensure that the people you offer the services to, they actually enjoy the service, they like what you have done, and they believe that they got good value for their money, and that will bring them to come. There are various ways you keep your business going. Good service, quality service, leads to referral. When I leave there, I say, that's barbing salon. Those guys are fine, they cut hair well, they are courteous, the place is neat, and I think you should try the place. You won't regret going there. That's from a satisfied customer. So whatever you are doing, if you want people to come, if you want to continue to be in business, the quality of the service you render is very important. And of course, you need to keep on changing. You don't have the same chair arrangements, the same mirror, the same cover cloths, the same old clippers that maybe you need to oil and use screw to tighten, when the customer is there. But with the modern ones, so you keep on doing things that follow the changes in what you are doing. If you are doing pure water and you use the same sachet for a very long time, that people find it difficult to use their teeth to tear the pure water from the sachet, But when you realize that, yes, you know that, okay, as I'm making money, I need to make it much easier for people when they buy my product. They can easily open it, they can drink the water, and then they would like to buy it. So whatever it is, maybe food packaging, maybe bakery, maybe Okada-go, logistic business, whatever it is. We're in a modern era. And I used to tell people that If I, as a young man, can continue to learn how to be modern, can continue to follow the trends of what is going on, and continue to try and equip myself to know the changes and the modernity. With the younger folks, we don't have a choice. We just have to continue to improve, know what is happening about our business, know what's happening in the business environment, know things that people need so that we can continuously model whatever we are doing towards the needs of people. And of course, if you have people that work for you, it's important you try to work together with them as a team. A tree doesn't make a forest, and nobody's an island of knowledge. No matter how good you think you are, there are certain things that somebody you just work with or recruit or say you should come and work with you for one day has that you don't have. Because God deposited various skills, various knowledge, various things into us. So it's important that when you have to work with people that are working with you, ensure that you work together as a team and you treat them well. If you employ anybody to work for you, you are not employing a slave. You're employing a colleague, a partner, a friend in the business journey. It's very, very important. If you miss that, you're on your own. You don't hire people who will be dedicated and believe in you. So I will quickly move to the next slide. Now, we talked about entrepreneurs. They're just basically, for those of us in employment, in other corporate organizations or bigger companies, it's opportunity given to us if you are enterprising to maximize our potentials and carry out activities profitably and efficiently. Let me just explain. You're employed as an employee. You are given a job description of what you are going to do in that company. And you are given responsibilities or tasks or work that you have to do. And occasionally there are gaps because an instruction given cannot be as detailed to capture all what you meet in reality or when you set or go out to do that job or carry out the task. So at times there are jobs that require you to sit back and think, as okay, look, okay, we're supposed to go in between these activities, or we're supposed to construct a fence across the road. But the design never takes the position that there's an open gutter. A normal employee will say, oh, we got in there, we saw gutter, and we cannot do the work. So we came back to the office. But another one will say, oh, okay, we got there, we saw a gutter, and we found out that it's harder for us to change the design of what we want to do so that we can achieve what we have to do. So basically, everywhere you work, man or business person or the enterprising and carry out activity successfully. Nobody is employing you to come and waste their money or lose their money. People are employing you to come and add value to their businesses. and people are employing you to come and use the resources judiciously, and people are giving employment to come and add value to the organization. They believe you have something to offer. That's why you are employed. So when you're there, it's an opportunity for you to open your eyes, to see how the business is being run, to see how you can climb the ladder in that organization, how you can move from one step to the other. And the only way you can go through that is if you are doing all the work given to you properly, running the activities given to you properly, managing your department or your team, achieving all the various goals, objectives, and plans of that unit, and for the business to see that you are one of their invaluable assets. So, I mean, that is all we're talking about. And it's basically saying that wherever you find yourself, wherever you're working, whenever you have responsibilities, you need to ensure that they are done properly. And as you are doing all this, you are learning. Because you'll be working with other people, you'll be working with other departments, you will have an access to know what they are doing. You will see how related those units are. And that will actually continue to help you to achieve the task. So normally you need to motivate yourself. The best somebody can do is to take the horse to the water, but cannot force the horse to drink the water. So the best anybody can do is to give you the opportunity to be able to maximize your potentials. So for you to do that, you need to be self-driven. You need to know where you want to go, and you need to continuously be pushing yourself towards those tasks. So, you need to be proactive, think well in advance, and that's why, all the planning. And nowadays, in some places, they do what they call something like the risk analysis, that we want to do these things. What are the things that will go wrong? And how do we plan to ensure that nothing goes wrong and we can achieve what we want to achieve? And when we have challenges, we don't wait. We're trying to find ways to resolve it. So basically, you're somebody who try to draw in ideas, draw in concept from people that you work with. Like I said, you are not an island of knowledge. You're working in a team, and the best thing is try to get your team together, look at what you have to do. And then from there, try and see how you can ensure that you execute the project properly. And whenever you are given responsibilities, or whenever you are giving funds, or you are giving projects or activities, you need to manage them properly. You are there to grow the business, and you need to ensure that your activities, or whatever you are doing, actually help the business to grow. So, I mean, basically, it's just a word, but it's talking about you as an employee within an organization, and the activities you do on day-to-day basis that become monthly, that become a year, that run for years, and you are progressing in the system, you are developing yourself, you are getting promoted, your employer is relying more and more on you, and you are taking more and more tasks and delivering the objectives until maybe one day you become the head of the place. So that's all about what we're talking about. So forget the big word, but basically it's talking about you in whatever you're If you open your eyes, you can see the way the owner of the business organizes the business. You can see the various units, the sales unit, the finance, the purchasing, if it's restaurants, how they buy the food, how they cook the food, how they attend to customers. I mean, these are things that you learn. And not only that, you have the opportunity of using somebody's money to learn. And you also have the opportunity of seeing real life situations. When good decisions are made, you can see the results. And if you analyze, you can see why that decision became a good decision. And when a bad decision is made, you can also see how a wrong decision was made, the impact of the wrong decision, what was lost. Maybe you just buy a new freezer for a place and you didn't read the manual, you didn't check how to be connected, and you put it into a wrong plug, and it blew the freezer. So that means the wrong thing has been done. But when you work in a place, those are things that, small things like that you plan. That the day you want to run your own business, they are the kind of experiences that you can actually, dig into. And also you can see the way your own group, the various employees, your colleagues, the way you relate, the way you are being managed, and also the way the company is, wherever you're working, how you are treating customers, your customers' reaction, are they living, are they staying, are they growing? So it gives you that opportunity of seeing all that. And then if you have spent a couple of years in that organization, when you want to enter the market yourself, or when you want to set up your own company, like the lady that spoke earlier, I think she did about 6 years in banking before she started to set up her own bakery. Over those years, she has met people, she has worked with people, she has had a good understanding of the market, and she's able to enter with wealth of experience into the market. But if all the 6 years she spent in bank, just as she said, around procuring the microfinance, the finance of businesses, how the local people are raising money, and she was able to ensure that she doesn't fall into the same trap, as them. So those are the kind of experiences that you learn. And I always tell people that wherever you're working, every day you go there, you ensure that you learn something, just only one thing. Or if you're not too bullish, learn one thing in a week. Or if you're a bit laid back, at least learn one thing in a month. So that will ensure that in the year, you've learned 12 new things that will be valuable to you. And whatever you learn in any place, nobody can take it away from you. So when you are given opportunities, take advantage of those opportunities. Opportunity given to you is an opportunity to further skill yourself, to further know more about whatever you're trying to do. And the moment you are taking it, you are giving more opportunities to further equip yourself. So basically, somebody is employing you and paying you to improve yourself and equip yourself. Because as you are offering services, you are getting more proficient in those services. And that's the mistake most of us make. We say we are managing where we are, and we shut our eyes to anything that will improve us. there is nothing you get involved with that that leads into something that doesn't have, that won't have value. No matter how minute you think it is. So it's important that if we have the opportunity, because like what she said, not everybody has the opportunity to work in a place. But if we have the opportunity to work in a place, let us open our eyes. Let us be willing to take responsibilities. Let us do whatever task they are given to us. Let's do it very, very well. When you're good in them, when you want to start your own business, you have something to fall back on. You cannot give what you don't have. So if you work in a place, you never learn anything, no proficiency, no competence, no understanding of how to offer quality services, not even able to stand up and walk properly. When you start your own business, you cannot walk properly because you're not used to working from 8 to 10 when the chips are down. You're used to letting off most part of the day. So when you start your own business, you could say to yourself, because you haven't spent the time to equip yourself. Well, I won't spend too much time talking about my experiences, but basically, all I just say is that I spent my early life to be a professional. I'm one of those that have different backgrounds, and I had a degree in agriculture. So my first 3 years was as a farmer, working on the field and understanding the government. And then I left to train as a professional accountant. And spent about 3 years there, and I went into the industry for about 8 years. So over those years, I've been able to understand what it takes to set up a business. I've been able to see mistakes made. I've been able to see the mistakes that I made along with other people. I was able to see mistakes that was made by not listening to my own views. And I'm also able to understand that it's only me and God in the business world. There is no other person. Nobody will give me money. Nobody will bring me out. Nobody will give me free lunch. I need to seek it to myself. People tell you, you run your business, your time is your time. Your time is not your time. When you're in employment and they say 8 to 5, you know it is 8 to 5. But when you're in business and a customer calls you at 10 p.m. and say, look, I have transaction. So ask yourself, have you closed at 5 o'clock? Or you pick up the call and talk to the customer. But the customer say, oh, you know what? I know you do Monday to Friday, but can we meet 3 p.m. on Saturday or 7 a.m. in the morning? I have this transaction for you. So it's not enough for you to say, oh, sorry, my time is my time. No. So it takes a lot to run a business. You need all your personal commitment. You need your continuous personal drive. And there's no Father Christmas. Today in this environment, your customers are asking for more out of the money they are paying. They want more value. Because things are getting tighter, where you are getting the money, they are putting more hours to get that money to pay and buy your product. So if they can buy the same quality product at 50% of the price, they will want it. So we need to understand that. And just 2 things I will tell people. The fact that you own the business, the money, I think she said it, the money of that business is not your money. Once you set up a business, you are different from that business. You too are an employee of that business, even though you own that business. So if your company makes 100,000 naira, that 100,000 naira does not belong to you. It belongs to that your company. What belongs to you is a small amount that you say you pay yourself every month. And that is what you have on catered assets. And so you need to keep it. I mean, that's a pitfall for most businesses. People dip their hand into the business that they are running, which is a bad practice. You have a bank account, you have your company name, as you said, you get checks, you get payments into that company's bank account. The only thing you can do is to draw money from that to run the business, to buy the materials and whatever. And if you say my salary is 30,000 per month, when at the end of the month, if you have enough cash, you pay yourself 30,000 naira from the company. If you don't have, your company will hold you to the next month when they have money to pay. You know, you can collect advance out of your salary from the company, but you cannot just dip your hand inside that, inside the company. So let me just let me just write up and just say just two things. Every experience, every opportunity you have to provide service or to work somewhere will add valuable experience to your life. Always be open to take responsibilities, because as you are taking responsibilities, even beyond what you are supposed to do, you are learning. And you are being paid by your employer to learn. And you are being paid by your employer to be a better person. And you are being paid by your employer to be able to be somebody that can stand on your own. And if sacrifices are required, give those sacrifices. Hard work doesn't kill. Hard work makes us better person. It is laziness that kills. Laziness kills your initiatives, kills your dreams, kills your ideas, and makes you a nobody. And laziness will make you to suffer. So when you work hard, you will enjoy it. And when you finish a task successfully, you will feel proud of yourself. Have a vision, have a plan, have a goal, and continue to work hard towards achieving it. Like I said, it's not a straight journey. There will always be challenges, but those challenges, those issues will make you a better person and make your business a better person. Let me also mention something which I have here. You must not have your own business at all costs. You are not cut out to that. At the end of the day, everything is to work hard, add value to yourself, add value to the organization, get good remuneration, and it is the bottom line. What comes to the pocket, either by employing people or being employed. People aspire, they start from office clerk, becomes MD of banks. I mean, most of the, have people in MD, some of them started as a clerk. So they run the race from the bottom of the ladder to the top. So you can also work in a place, grow with a business, and enjoy a good career and lead those places. So it's not compulsory at all that you must have to set up your own business. And I can tell you, you cannot combine what they call moonlighting. Getting being employed somewhere and set up your own business by the side. Something will give way. It's either the quality of the service you provide where you're working full time, start diminishing, or the business you're trying to do outside not as successful as you do. So stay, give a commitment, have your plans, take on opportunities, get trusted, build up there. And when you think the time is right for you to move, then you move. I mean, when I left employment, people thought I was fine because I had a good package, I had a good pay, I had a good job. And in fact, somebody came to meet me that time they were trying to give me more money. And I said, I don't want that. Maybe somebody did something for people, But I said, no, I made up my mind that I want to set up a business. And I've done that for 26 years. And I still feel there's plenty of horizon, what I'm doing. There's still a lot to learn, what I'm doing. I'm still spending time to develop myself. I can tell you, I read at least 8 to 15 hours a day, continuously. I read everything. And my phone, Google, understand that. So every time, all the good things, all the sites that I used to go and read, technical information, whatever it is, when I wake up in the morning, my phone would have searched around and opened a page for me that will cut across all the fields of my interest. So work hard, develop yourself, self-development, very, very important. And always try to be at best. I don't see why anybody should be better than me, what I'm trying to do. So you should not see why somebody should be better than you, what you're trying to do, what you're doing. The difference is that the person is more committed, the person is more focused, the person is spending quality time to develop his or herself. And there's nothing wrong in you doing that and be a better person than that. So you need to be focused, consistent in what you are doing. Not that you go this way today, tomorrow you go another way. Spend time, know that that's where you want to go, and go there. Be persistent, that challenges, but you just need to. And always be critical in evaluating yourself. Don't deceive yourself. I'm not good in this. I haven't done this well. How can I be better in it? Know that you know you are not good in it and you want to see you are good in it. You are deceiving yourself and nobody. So always evaluate what and try to see how you can be better. So basically, I think that's what I want to share. And once again, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that presentation and the message. It's loaded. I was blessed, at least for me, and I believe for others too. The taking here is that we have entrepreneurs and we have entrepreneurs. So when you work in a place that or you want to start your business, you are an entrepreneur. So you can also groom your skills you learned on the job and transform it to starting your own business, which is going to be beneficial for you if you are looking at starting up. And for people who want to start up, the question is, do you want to do it for the next 10 years? When it's 10 years, are you sure you can go another 10 years? What about the finance? So I want to start a barber shop now. Can I do barbering for the next 10 years? Is this something that will be relevant in the next 10 years? Those are the questions that will help you as a barber. So now in my environment, what is demography there? Those are the things that you need to look at. So we are blessed today for having your answer. So the questions are going to be coming up. So I want to ask you you can note those the questions. We want you to do that the speakers will give us their presentations. Then we have your questions to take it one or two questions that they can answer. So after the next speaker, we are going to talk about questions and answers. So now our next speaker I want to introduce to you is the name of Sister Olamide. But before she comes up, I want to just talk about her. She's experienced in she has experience in assessment and talent acquisition, team strategy, and employee engagement. She works with one of the biggest top communication companies in Nigeria, and she's an associate member of Chartered Institute of Personnel Management Nigeria. She's also she's also certified in occupational and personal testing. So she's going to be talking to us on the topic tools to excel in the 21st century. So now what do employees look out for? Nowadays we are now in the global village. The world is a global village. We have online. So for example, if you apply for a job, you can just go online to check your profile on LinkedIn easily. Now you don't have to go any further to be doing background check. But now we are working in this time of era where you can actually access your profile anywhere. What are the top talent? What are the top skills that you require? What are the things you need to look out for to make you a top talent for employers? So I want to call Mrs. Olamide Riado to come and talk to us.
Thank you very much. And thanks a lot, Church, for the opportunity to also come up to speak. So I've been in the HR space for about 8 years plus. And most of my role in HR has actually focused in recruitment. So, and I've worked both in the UK and in Nigeria, recruiting for different companies and different organizations. I started off in recruitment actually, and I've worked for a multinational firm. I've also worked for a consulting firm who basically recruits for other companies. So I know what it's like recruiting for a company and also recruiting for other companies. And that's part of the things I would also share in the course of today's session. I know some of the speakers have actually touched on some of the points I've shared today. It just goes to show how important these things are. And some of these things you might have heard before, but then again, when you're hearing things another time, it's somewhat different. So I believe that we also have things to learn. And even though you're a business owner, I know some of our presentation might be focused on people who are looking for a job or who are 85, but I also believe that you would have one or two things to learn in what I have to share today. Next slide, please. So basically, what I'm going to be talking about today is explaining what it's like in the job market, how employers are looking out for people, and how you tend to see that there are a lot of people that are looking for jobs. So how do you want to stand out from the 1,000,001 job seekers that are out there? I would also talk to us about creating your CV, if you have a LinkedIn profile, how to also ensure that your LinkedIn profile is attractive. When you have an interview, how do you best prepare for that? So I would also talk about that in the course of my presentation. I would also talk about the skills that are necessary, because if you think about it now, a lot of things have changed in the last 10 to 20 years. So if we're focusing on this era now and beyond, what are the kind of skills that employers are looking out for in terms of hiring the best talent for their organization? I would also talk about how to position yourself. So fine, you have these skills, you've gotten this knowledge. How do you then want to position yourself so that you are employable? Next slide, please. I know this isn't clear, but basically it's statistics to just sort of give an overview of what's going on out there. So the first statistics actually says that 65% of CEOs are actually concerned about the availability of skills out there. So it's a concern for a lot of organizations. What sort of people are out there? What sort of skills do people even have that will prove valuable in the role that they're looking to employ this person for? And this cuts across all the different jobs. So regardless of the kind of job that you're doing, it's a concern for the person who is recruiting or who is looking for someone to come in. And as what our previous speakers have talked about, as an employee, you need to see yourself as a business owner. You need to see yourself as part of the business. And that's also something that causes, lack of sleep, or that causes an employer to worry that what sort of skills are out there? What sort of people are out there for me to employ, to bring in, to also help run my business or run my organization in whatever way that person can? The second statistic says that there are 85% of employers, or employees rather, that are looking out for jobs. So basically, what this is talking about is a lot of people have educational degrees. A lot of people have certifications. A lot of people have gone to school to maybe even get a vocational qualification. But then there's a lot of people out there, and then there are only few jobs. So how do I then want to be the person that this employer picks whenever I go for an interview? How do I want to stand out when I have that opportunity? And then the next statistics talks about how 87% of the global workforce is actually not engaged, or they're actively disengaged. And basically what this is saying is that you found a job, you've gotten yourself into that job, but then you're not doing as much as you should. You're not putting as much effort in that job that you found yourself in. And it just goes to show how worrisome this is, because you have a lot of people in organizations, but then they're not even employing, or they're not even utilizing their skills as much as they should. Next slide, please. So first things first, you're applying for a job. You've put your CV together, and they say that your CV is like your passport to the employment industry, or to the job market. Your CV is the first thing that employers would see, because you don't have that opportunity to sell yourself, so to say. So when you're putting your CV together, or even your LinkedIn profile, you need to begin with the end in mind. And what I mean by that is, what sort of job am I looking for? Am I looking for a job as an accountant? How do I then want to pack or position my CV in such a way that it will reflect what I've done, and it will reflect the fact that I'm good at this job? As a recruiter, I go through a lot of CVs. I go through thousands of CVs in a day. So I'm asking myself that by the time I look at this CV, is it something that I would want to look at? And there's actually statistics that shows that, and a recruiter actually spends only for less than 10 seconds, or let me say 20 seconds, looking at a CV. So if you know that you only have 20, 30 seconds to make an impression, then what you should be thinking about is, how do I want to ensure that that impression is left in the mind of the recruiter, so the recruiter will want to call me for the job. So something you need to think of is, what sort of information am I putting there? Am I putting the right phone number? So if this recruiter is interested in hiring me for a job, I call the number and the number is wrong, you've lost that opportunity. The other thing they would ask for, they would think about, recruiters would think about is my email, your email address. Are you putting professional email address on your CV? Are you putting a functional email address on your CV? The email address that you've put on your CV, is it an inbox that I frequently check? So those are the things you need to ask yourself when you're putting your CV together. And the same thing goes with your phone number as well. Is it my brother's phone number or my mom's phone number? So if a recruiter should call me for a job, how easy would that person be able to get through to me to say, look, I came across your CV, I found your CV, I want to interview you for a job? There are some people that you can also leverage when you have your CV to just check to see if your CV is good, does it have grammatical errors? If I'm recruiting someone for a role and I want this person to have excellent writing skills or communication skills, and I'm seeing spelling errors on that CV, that's already a turn off for me. I wouldn't want to look at that CV any further. Also, when you're putting your CV together, you would want to start with your most recent role first. So if you're currently working in a bakery, put that first, because that's what the employer wants to see. And then you go all the way down to say, okay, in the last 2 years, in the last 3 years, this is what I've done. There are some things that are also not relevant on your CV. So for example, your state of origin or the local government. Those things are not necessary on the CV. You want to ensure that you're putting the information that these employers want to see, because they only have limited time in going through your CV. Next slide, please. So you've gone through putting your CV together, everything is looking good, you submitted it to an employer or to a company, and they've called you for an interview. What are the things that you need to do just before you go for that interview? first of all, do a research about the organization. It's really wrong when you go for an interview and the interviewer is asking you, so what do you know about us? Sometimes it makes it seem as if you've put your CV to so many organizations, and at this point, you're just looking for a job. Every employer wants to think, even though it's not the reality, but every employer wants to think that you have applied to work for them or to work with them because of the value that you want to bring into that organization. So regardless of the job, even if it's a job of a cleaner, know about what the organization does, because that will also stand you out to show that you've taken time to know about what they do, you're interested about what they do, and want to add to that business as well. The other thing you should do is to read the job description. So you apply to so many jobs and then you get called by one, but you don't even know the job that you're interviewing for. That's already a recipe for failure. So I've applied to work as a front desk officer. I need to read what they had asked or what they had put out there in the job adverts about the front desk officer, what they want the person to do. In some organizations, being a front desk officer differs. In some organizations, you might be required to also double as the CEO's PA or the CEO's executive assistant. So if that's part of the job description, you want to read about it and remind yourself that this is what they're looking for. So that in a time where they ask you why they should employ you, you can also remember that, look, I've worked as an executive assistant before. If I share that experience with them, I have more reasons or more chances to be employed for that opportunity compared to someone who doesn't even have experience doing an executive assistant role. So it's always important to read through the job description so that when you're answering questions, they're also answering in line with what the employer is looking for. Another thing you should always do is practice common interview questions. So some common interview questions that you might hear in a job interview is, tell me about yourself. It may seem very simple, but in that, you don't want to go on talking about how you were born in Niger State, you relocated to Lagos. Sometimes employers don't have that luxury of time to listen to all of that. So when they tell you, or when they ask you, tell me about yourself, you only have a few minutes to make the first good impression. So what you want to do is tell them what you've done in relation to the job that you've applied for, so that they can easily and from the onset start to see why they should hire you and not the next person that, or the previous person that they even met with. They might ask you some questions like, what are your strengths and your weaknesses? You don't want to tell them, oh, my weakness is that I shout at people when I'm angry. Again, you need to practice those sorts of questions so that when they ask these sort of questions from you, you know how best to answer. So you are not making yourself a candidate that is not to be hired for that role. There are lots of questions online, and like the previous facilitator mentioned, leverage the internet. So there are a lot of questions online that you can check out to see, okay, if I'm applying for XYZ job, what kind of questions am I likely going to be asked? And then that way, you can practice these answers so that when you have that opportunity, you are better prepared. Another thing you should do is you can do a demo interview with a friend. That way you are practicing things like your speaking, you're practicing things like your eye contact, you're practicing things like how you sit. Because in some instances, your body language tells a lot. They can ask you questions and you might answer very well, but just because of how you have positioned yourself, you may even not be employed for that role. So I'll give a typical example. If you are sitting and you are being interviewed, you shouldn't cross your arms, you shouldn't fiddle with a pen, you shouldn't scratch your head. So if you cross your arms, it shows to a certain extent that you are being defensive, and that may come off the wrong way to the person who is employing you. If you are maybe playing with your pen or playing with your phone, you may give that impression that you are not interested in the job. And that way, they may think, oh, this person is not serious. Meanwhile, it's something that you are doing even without thinking. but you don't even realize that you have lost an opportunity in that instance. So it's always good. You can even practice in front of the mirror as you are speaking, so that from there you build your confidence, you build your ability to speak in front of someone that you do not know. Because every employer wants to hire someone who is confident, who can speak very well. Sometimes you might not even know the job, but because of how you package yourself, the employer might think, you know what, I can employ this person because this person is likely going to learn quick and is going to show some sort of confidence when I ask this person to do XYZ job. Another thing you should learn or you should do before your interview day is make sure you know the venue of your interview. It is actually wrong if you've been told to come to an office by 10 o'clock and you are coming for that interview by 10:30 or even 10:15. That 10-15 minutes might actually lose you that opportunity to get the job that you're looking for. And if you come to an interview late, your employer might think this is how this person will be coming late to work. And that's something that typically employers frown at. Also, you need to ask yourself, where am I going to? If my interview is on the island and you're coming from the mainland, or even if your interview is on the mainland and you're coming from the island, you need to plan your journey routes. You know that typically there's always a lot of traffic, for example, on Third Mainland Bridge. So make sure you leave early so that you get there early. It's better you're even at your interview venue early and you're waiting for the interview to start than your employer or the person who is interviewing you to be waiting for you, because that also doesn't give a good first impression. It just shows that maybe you are not taking them seriously and they would rather move to somebody else who will take the job more seriously than you are. If your interview is online, we know that with COVID, these days, employers will tell you, please don't come into the office, there's COVID. If your interview is online, then you should make sure that you test your camera, you test your webcam, you test your microphone, you check your internet to ensure that you don't have any sort of hiccups during your interview. And it's always best to test all these things before the interview starts so that it helps you to be better prepared. If you come for an interview late, if you attend late, you sort of lose your confidence along the line. And then that way, you wouldn't even be able to sell yourself or even answer questions properly. Another thing you should remember is to plan your outfit. So what are you going to wear before you go for the interview? Where am I going to be interviewed? Am I going to an interview in a bank where they typically expect you to wear a shirt, a tie, a jacket? Even if you're going to do interview as a security or a driver, it does not matter, because your appearance is what they see first. And unfortunately, we human beings, we judge what we see even before we open our mouth. And that's typically how Nigerians can be sometimes. So how do you want to present yourself to your future employer? What sort of things do you wear? So as ladies, for example, they're expected not to wear anything too short, anything too revealing. You don't want to give the wrong impression. For men, you're expected to wear a shirt, depending on the kind of interview you're going for. You're expected to wear a shirt. If possible, you can wear a suit. You should wear a tie. It just goes to show that you're professionally dressed and you're ready to take up the role as well. Please, 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 please use a deodorant. It may seem very not important, or it may not seem important to some people, but trust me, you would go take a public transport, you will get to your venue, you're all sweaty. The next thing you don't want in the middle of all of that is also not to have a good body odor. People typically frown at that. I have actually experienced during an interview where the manager said, you know what, I can't continue with this interview anymore. I do not like how this person smells. And that's how the guy lost the job. I'm also not saying you should then use perfume that will then make you smell too strong, because it can also be overbearing. So just keep things at a minimum. You should ensure that even little things, as much as your shoes, you can keep a rag or a cloth in your bag. When you go or you get to the point of the interview, have this person for cleaning your shoes before going into the interview venue. And again, if you get there on time, then you have the opportunity, or you also have that extra time to tidy up yourself, to make sure you're looking good, to make sure you're fresh, and to make sure you are better prepared before you even meet your interviewers. Another thing you should also remember is to tell people why you are the best person for that job. Again, remember I said earlier that we have so many people and so little jobs out there. So I have interviewed 10 people, and unfortunately, I can only hire one person. So why should you be that one person that the employer is going to take to join their organization? So you need to remember to sell yourself. You need to remember to tell them why you are the best person for the job. And what you can do, I'll share some points in the course of this presentation, some of the things that you need to even learn to be able to tell them why you are the best person for that job. Next slide, please. So I've listed some skills here. I'm not sure how clear they are, but I'll talk through them one after the other. Some of them may seem a bit technical, but I'll definitely break it down so that you better understand what exactly I'm trying to share. And these skills that I have here are not exhaustive, and they are in no particular order. But again, in the last year, especially when COVID hit us, what I've experienced is that there are some skills that employers want to see, because the way we do jobs, or the way we did jobs in 2000 or 2019, it's actually different from 2021. Best believe in the last year and a half, things have changed drastically. And now employers are not even looking at the now, and they're not looking at the before, but they're actually forward thinking, because some organizations have had to pack up. Some organizations have had to lay out or tell staff to go. I know quite a number of people that lost their jobs during the COVID period, and I know some people that also got jobs during the COVID period. So it's possible for people who are out there looking for jobs. And like I mentioned earlier, regardless of the job that you're looking for, these skills are actually some of the things that you should have, because it will make you an employable person. So the first one is complex solving or problem solving. Employers want to know people that can solve problems. So if there's a problem in the office, don't tell your employer, oh, this is the problem. You should tell them this is the problem and this is the solution. So even if it's something as little as, there's a problem in the church building, for example, this socket is not working. What is the solution that you are bringing to that problem? Are you telling the building facilities person that, okay, I can actually fix this socket? Or are you telling the person, I know someone that can fix the socket? So let us be people who solve problems and not create or even point out the problems. Another thing is creativity. So employers want to know that people can think. People can beyond what the space that they have at this point. How creative are you? How can you sit down and look beyond the fact that this microphone is the way it is, but there are better ways that this microphone can be? So I want to know people that are creative and not just maintaining how things used to be. Another skill you need to think of is critical or analytical thinking. Again, it has to do with being creative as well. So it's not, again, just about looking at what you have now, but sitting down, analyzing it. I'm thinking of the pros, I'm thinking of the cons of every situation, and I can then come up with, again, a solution to whatever problem you're thinking of. Technology is something that is here to stay, whether we like it or not. So if you're not technology savvy, I would really encourage you to, even if it's to go to a computer school or to learn the new software, regardless of what it is, technology is something that is here to stay, and most organizations are looking out for people who have technology skills. Regardless of how basic it is, you should be able to at least, even if it's using your phone, that's still something. Even if it's using a computer, it's something. But look at the latest trends, the latest technology that applies to your field, and then get better at it. Another skill that we look at is judgment and decision making. So I don't want someone who would come in to work with me and I'll have to tell the person what to do. You need to be someone that can think on your feet. You need to be someone that can make decisions. If your guy is not there, what would you do? Even if you made a decision or you've thought about a decision, you have someone that you can share this thought with. You say, okay, look, this is the problem. This is what I'm thinking. What do you think? it just goes to show again that we are just different from the next person who is sitting down to be told, go here, move there. If you see a wire that is that needs to be maybe packaged in a particular way, taken away from maybe where everyone is working, I'm just something from moving the wire from point A to point B. So employers are looking for that person that will be able to make judgments and make decisions as opposed to being told what to do every time. Adaptability and flexibility, this has to be changed. You cannot be the same person in this COVID era. Trust me, you would not be able to function. So if someone has that adaptability or flexibility skill, employers are not looking for people that are looking at, this is the job description. Oh, all they hired me to do is to cook rice, and it's only rice that I'm going to cook. Employers are looking for people that will say, you know what, my customers in this restaurant are not eating rice as much, but they actually want to eat meat pie, because sometimes some people come in and they are very hungry. So how do we serve them in such a way that by the time my rice is done, they are still sitting in my restaurant and they will still pay for the food that they ate before and the rice that they will eat later. Let me learn how to make meat pie, and I'll add meat pie to my recipe. And that's a way that you can be, you have like and stay relevant in the business. So instead of thinking of just, oh, all I'm thinking about is be your bond. If you say you are going to do something, then do it. Employers don't want people who are fraudulent, people who are not truthful, because it just goes to show that this person will run down my business. So why should I employ this person to join my organization? And then another thing I want to talk about is, at the end of the day, how do I then position myself to be the person that this employer should pick for a job? How do I want to position myself as a top talent? When I say top talent, I should have said this earlier, it just means top candidate, the best of the best. How do I want to position myself? Something that's helped me in my first job that I did as a recruiter, it was actually a job that I didn't get paid for. And I did that for 2 months. So volunteering is a good way to start. So if you're looking for a job in a particular field, it's not sometimes not all about the money, but please, I'm not saying take a job and then at the end of the day, you cannot pay or you don't even have transport to even go to the job. There are sometimes you look at your journey and you ask yourself, okay, can I afford to do this job? And I don't necessarily need to get paid for it. Even if it's for 1 month, even if it's for 2 months, sometimes all you need is that experience. So volunteering is actually a good way, regardless of whatever it is. Am I going to learn from this person for maybe 2-3 months, and then afterwards I can start up my own, or afterwards I can say, you know what, I don't want to volunteer anymore. I actually need to get paid. So volunteering is one good way. Another way to position yourself as a top talent, get a mentor. In your field in HR, in your field in agriculture, in your field in business, who is someone that has succeeded in that field and you can learn from? Get a mentor. Ask the person. If I had known earlier in my career, I would have gotten a mentor when I started. But it's never too late. Get someone that is more experienced in that field and ask the person, okay, what can I do to get better? What can I do to get a better job? What can I do to grow in my career? And this also applies to even people that are within jobs. So it's not even if you are looking for moving from one company to the other. Even if you're in one company and you're looking to move from the position of, I don't know, a front desk officer, and you want to become a HR person, find somebody in that organization who is in HR and speak to that person. How do I go about this? The third thing I would encourage us to do if you want to position yourself is also to be someone that is working in that position that you want to be in. So I give a typical example. I'm not a manager now, but I want to be employed as a manager. Even though I don't have the manager title, I will start working as a manager so that when that time comes, my employers can see that this person is working as a manager and I'm looking for a manager. Obviously, that's the person that will come to the employer's mind first. Because at that point, I've already seen that this person has good managerial skills, this person can lead somebody, this person has all what it takes to move from one job to the other. Same thing goes for other jobs as well. Even if you are in an organization, if I want to, so for example, I'm working as a driver, but I want to work as a cleaner because I actually don't mind doing that job. I will start to act in that capacity. I will start to look for ways that I can clean. So that when that vacancy comes, it's me that you'll be thinking of. They won't think of the next person. Another way that you can also position yourself is you just do you. And I think this is where, again, the God factor comes in. If you remember the parable of the talents, if God has given you something to do, just do it very well. Because if you don't do that thing that He's giving you to do very well, then He's not going to give you the next big thing. Sometimes you think, oh, I just want to grow, I just want to move to the next level, but you've not even done the one that they've given you very well. So why would God even bless you with even more? So in your own space, sometimes don't even look at the fact that I want to earn more. Don't even look at the fact that I want to, show this person or prove. Sometimes it's just best to do your job. Just do it diligently and do it to the best of your ability, because that way you are showing people that this person is employable, this person is diligent, and this person can actually deliver when I give him or her the job to do. And to round it up, again, the God factor. You cannot remove God in your career. You cannot remove God in your job. If you've not taken time to listen to where God is leading you to, then what's the point of moving there? You just find out that you moved from one place to the other and you're hitting your head of a brick wall. You're not advancing, you're not progressing, and you're asking yourself why. I left UK to come back to Nigeria. I actually had to listen to God. It was a very tough decision because I knew the benefits of what I could have earned being in UK or being in London, but God clearly told me, because He actually gave me a job in Nigeria and He didn't give me a job in UK, and I didn't like that fact, but I couldn't fight it. And here I am today. I'm actually succeeding in Nigeria, and I didn't think there were opportunities for me in Nigeria. But it's about sitting down and listening to where God is leading you to. It might not make sense to you, but as long as you have peace within your mind and you take your time to pray and listen to where God is leading you to, then all things will work together for good. Thank you very much.
Hallelujah. Come, put your hands together. Thank our speakers for this beautiful presentation. We have one more, right? Okay, but that's all for now. We'll go on break. Before we go on break, we'd like to take some questions, just a quick refresher of what we've been on. Konkuroti talked about you as an entrepreneur or a business owner. Sometimes when people ask me, is it true that Monday is holiday? Like coming Monday is public holidays, and like, oh yes, it's holidays. They are excited. I don't feel excited about holidays because I don't know the difference. I only know Sunday and any other day. That's how it is for people who are employers. You have to be on the clock like all the time. Not like you will not create time for yourself to rest. You have time to rest. However, the most of your time you are spending supervising the people in your business and around your business. So on that note, if you have your questions written down or you still remember the questions you want to ask, can I see your hands before we go to the break sessions? Please help us check for those who may have questions from maybe they sent in their questions online. You have some questions online? None, okay. While you're still thinking of your question, because I'll soon get out of here, I would like to appreciate everyone who has made it to today's event. In fact, I'm so overjoyed that today's one has been a success. Konkuroti has been a part of us coming on, and where God is leading us with this, we are ripe now for export. The ability to prepare the program and have a target of what we want to achieve amongst ourselves and anyone who comes around is to be able to create the opportunity to work for yourself, work for other people if you need to, and be able to be self-sufficient. We do not want to create a society where people live dependent on almsgiving. We want people to be able to cater for their own needs and resources. That's the dream, or that's the vision behind all of this. And by God's grace, God keeping us alive, this is something we're going to do every year. And why I say we're due for export is that next year's event, the advert is not going to be in the WhatsApp lounge for just members of the church. We're throwing it out to allow people who are not members of the church to come, both speak and participate. So you just see the name of the church as the one powering it, but the event is going to be global for anyone to attend. I'm teaching somebody going to put your hands together for that. And if you were here 3 weeks ago when we had a smaller version of this program, 90% of the people who attended were non-members of the Freedom Baptist Church. Am I correct, President? Yeah, 90% were non-members of the church. They said they heard about it. The reason they are not here today is because of our change in date due to the local government election. So we apologize. If you are watching, we are really sorry. We didn't intend to shift the date. That event actually shifted. I was surprised. So I asked them, how did you get to hear about it? They said, one, okay. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so my question is directed to as an employee. Okay, so that is the main thing
You might.
people change job. So as a teacher, how do you now balance loyalty to people change job and you're still going to 9%? Because now the only way you get promotion is by moving and changing jobs. That's what it looks like. But it's not supposed to be, but I don't know. Nowadays, that's what people do to get promotion because the current employer doesn't see you like you're ready for this. So it might even be that God doesn't want you there. So as a recruiter, how do you balance the reality? When you're a DSCB and you see somebody who doesn't spend more than 1 year in the company, he's already moving. He has 6 years experience, but he has worked for like 10 companies. How do you balance it? So that's just my question. How do you, I want to have an update so that if I want to move, I'll know.
Okay. So in terms of balancing moving from one job to the other, similar experience. I did 4 years in one company. The next place I moved to, I did a year and 3 months, and then I moved again. And people would ask me, okay, why did you move from that company? So before you move, first of all, ask yourself, the opportunity that I'm going in, so why am I moving? I think that was the first question you should ask yourself. Why am I moving? Have I exhausted all the things I can learn to grow in this space that I'm in? And then the next thing you should ask yourself is the position that I'm moving to, is it going to help me in terms of my career trajectory? Is it going to help me to move from where I am now to where I want to go to? I know on average, based on what I've seen as well, people typically spend 2 years in one company. And the reason is, if you think about our generation, most people in the workplace now are millennials, and then Gen Zs are also, you understand, they're also coming up into the workplace. And sometimes it's not even about the job. Sometimes it's about work-life balance. Sometimes it's about training opportunities. So before you move from one place to the other, I think the first question to ask yourself is, why am I moving? Is my organization not providing me with the opportunity that I'm looking for? You understand? And then I would advise as much as possible, for stability's sake, especially on your profile, it would be good to spend at least a year or two. A year is short, to be honest, but depending on why you are moving as well, because the next question as a recruiter I would ask you is, why are you looking to move? So when I was moving from the job I was in before the job I'm in now, I had to convince the employer to tell them, look, this was what I was looking for when I moved to this job. Unfortunately, I didn't get that. And it's on that basis I'm still looking out for that opportunity. But before I left that 4-year job to the job where I did for a year, I felt that I wasn't growing in that space. So I'd gotten to my own peak in that organization. So again, sometimes it might be because you hit a ceiling. So if that's the case, don't now put yourself to the next job where you clearly know that you're going to hit a ceiling. So even during interviews, it's always good to ask questions. I think that's another thing I should have checked when you're preparing for interviews. Always ask your employers questions and questions that are burning to you. So typical question you'd ask is, what's the career growth like? So if you are someone who is looking to grow in an organization, then for example, don't go to a startup. Most startups are not as structured as other big organizations. So there's a likelihood that you will go to a startup and you'll be doing the same job for years. You might get bored. And then in that situation, you'll leave after a year or two. So a good question to always ask your prospective employer is, what is the growth like? What is the career ladder like? Because in some cases, the position that you've applied for might actually be the highest level in that organization. So if that's the case, what it means is that you will be looking to move in another year once you think you've gathered the experience that you have. Another question you can ask is, what's the opportunity for job rotation or job enlargement? So what that basically means is you might be employed to do one thing, but they've seen that you are able to do other aspects of in another department, for instance. They can move you from that department to another department. That way, it also helps you to stay in that organization, because if you are someone that's looking for experience to learn and to go, then you have the opportunity to do something else other than the job that you applied for. And then most employers these days,
they will tell you that, look, if push comes to shove, employer will only be loyal to themselves. And if need be, I mean, the COVID has shown us that example. If need be, they would let someone go if they don't see the need for that person to be in the organization. So something you also need to think of is what's the long-term plan of that company that they're also going into. Some organizations are still starting up. So in a situation where they can't afford to maybe pay their staff salary or what have you, then they'll let you go. In that situation, again, you won't get that longevity that you're looking for. Because what it means is that you go to an organization, they can't even sustain their business. And unfortunately, within how many years of you maybe being with them, the organization itself has to shut down. So there are certain elements you need to ask, or certain questions you need to ask yourself, certain elements you need to think of before moving from one job to the other. Another thing again, and I know this is typical in the banking industry, you might go to a particular job and then you might not get promoted in 2, 3, 4 years, and you find yourself in that position. Again, the question you should ask before joining them, how long would one spend in one role? Some people may tell you, some people may not. So if you can't get that answer in an interview, it's best to find people who work in that organization. So sometimes the way organizations do background checks on you as a candidate, you should also do background checks on that organization to find out from, and this can be people who have worked there. Something you could also do is leverage from LinkedIn. You see someone who has spent only 6 months in a company, and that is the company that you are being interviewed, like you are being called to interviewing. You can reach out to that person to find out, okay, I noticed you spent 6 months in this organization. If you don't mind me asking, why did you leave? Some people will be open enough to tell you, oh, I left because they were owing us salary. Others will tell you, oh, I applied for the role there, but it's not quite what I'm looking for. But the culture is good, you can work there. So something I also do is I do my background check on every company I go to work for, because I want to know what is their culture like, what is the growth like. Am I just going to go there? I mean, the job I'm in now, I might not even have the opportunity to move up as quick as I want to, but I knew that before I joined, and I did not mind because I was looking for work-life balance. So I don't know if that sort of answers your question, but do you have a follow-up question? Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, one more.
So like this, like a follow-up. So now I want to learn from the perception perspective. So you have 2 people that submitted as moved like 2 or more 3 jobs. And you have somebody that spent like it doesn't move, at least he spent like reasonable amount of years with the company. How do you perceive it? Because nowadays, why I'm asking that question is that that's the perception. So the perception is that from what I know, I used to hear is that once you're on the job for a long time, it means you don't really have the competition or what it takes to compete in the market. Whereas the people that moves, and in the long term, we discover that when people now join, it doesn't really sound like they are actually special. They are just these people that just move and move and move. They may not actually, there are some job functions that require maturity. There are some job functions that, so how do you see the perception? What perception do you see? We see 2 severe people now. Somebody is spent some time, some people move. How do you see it from a human perception, a human resource practitioner?
Thank you very much. The truth is, as HR practitioners, recruiters, we are not perfect. And in some instances, human error may occur in terms of making a decision on who to hire. And without sounding too spiritual, but the honest truth is, I always ask for the guidance of the Holy Spirit when making any decision, no matter how little it is. But then if you want to go practical, if I see 2 CVs, I sort of look back and ask myself, why has this person moved quite frequently? So a question I would ask during interviews is, okay, why did you move from this place to another place? And typically, people would even share with me their career journey. So they might tell me things like, oh, I moved to this place because I was looking for this. Or they will tell me, oh, this organization poached me or picked me from one company that I was into, their present company. So again, when you see people who have moved a lot, sometimes it's really about how they have sold themselves during interviews, and they just sort of position themselves to employers to show that they can do X, Y, Z skill. Now, if you see someone that has worked in a particular place for a long time, sometimes that's also not good because it gives that perception that you are not hungry for the next big thing. The question you should ask is, or the question I typically ask is, this person has spent 8 years doing the same thing over and over again, which is why interviews are very essential, and the kind of questions that is being asked in interviews is very important. So I ask myself, okay, you spent 8 years, tell me, what have you done with the 8 years that you've been in this company and this position? What have you learned? What skill did you learn? Again, position yourself as a top talent or top candidate. Did you take time to even go online to find skills to better yourself? Because in some cases, you might be looking for work and nothing is coming through. So in that case, what else have you done? Have you gone online to do trainings, do courses to even better yourself? So even if someone has spent 8 years in a job and I say that, okay, this person is loyal, but then at the point of interview, I can't really get a lot from that person of what he or she has done in 8 years. And I'd be likely to maybe take a risk on that person who has moved a lot, because I also sit down to ask myself, what is this person coming in to do? What is essential for the role that I'm recruiting for? Am I looking for someone who would come in, add value in a year or two, and if the person wants to move, no problem? Or am I looking for someone who will be a bit more stable? Because I don't want this job to change so many hands in the space of 5 years. So in looking at the CV, which is why I say that CV is just one aspect, interview is also another aspect, because interview gives me the opportunity to ask questions, to delve deep down, and that's why even informal background checks are important. So even if you've told me something during an interview, I also have that honest to ask around, okay, what has this person done? What else has this person done in the space that he or she has worked in? What is this person's work ethic like? Because by the time I gather all that information from speaking to different people, I can tell if it's worth hiring this one person that has spent 8 years in one position. It could be a situation that this person hasn't gotten another job, or this person is hardworking, diligent, has XYZ other skills that he or she has gathered in that 8 years. So I might be more inclined to hire that person than hiring someone who has jumped from one place to the other, because sometimes when people have also moved, maybe because of money, and I don't want that. So as an employer or as a recruiter, my question really will be, what is important for this job? Is it someone that can come, deploy a skill for 1-2 years and it's fine if this person moves? Or is it someone that I need long-term to be on the road because I don't want the person to keep changing hands? Thank you.
Yeah, I have to talk from employer perspective, and what we look at and how we look at it. I mean, typically, if we're trying to recruit, and you're somebody that has moved, 3 times in 5 years without your loyalty, no matter how good you are, you'll be likely not employed. That's one. 2, I work in a field where it's specialized. And I look for people that can work for us 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I have to work for 20 years. And it's not that they are not aggressive. You only do the same thing, especially for the engineers. You only do the same thing. Work for different clients, work on different solutions. There are continuous training, and we do all what we can do, to keep the people. And because we invest in real skills that you might even find locally. So that means, like during COVID, we're not making money. And we cannot afford to let go our staff, like the engineers. If you let them go, you create competition in the open market. And when you have the opportunity, you have the opportunity to work for you. So, so basically, you know, it's so what I say is, and just like what you said, the challenge we have, you know, in industries that the younger folks, especially those that haven't worked before in corporate organizations, they have a kind of perception of what employment looks like. And usually it's very turbulent in their first 5 years. And they are hardly satisfied, no matter what you do. But those who have worked elsewhere and have been bumped, when they see better organization, they appreciate the now they can benchmark and say, okay, you know what, I worked somewhere else and I'm in here, and this is a better, this require improvements and things like that, you know, and a bit more stable. So it's actually challenging that every young folk go for an extra 50,000, 30,000, 100,000 naira, and jeopardizing some of their future steps. I can tell you that 7% of people we lost are either to big IOCs or to outside the country, but not to anybody can appear, because we are set out to do things that people don't do. So those also create opportunities, challenges, the changes, you know, less monotony, because there are usually things that you have to dig in almost every time to do. So my advice is, we need, I mean, the younger folks need to, before you can learn something substantial in any organization, minimum 3 years. I mean, what you can say, I've learned, I can take it to the next level. So if you are moving every 1 or 2 years for every extra money that you get, at the end of the day, just like what you said, you get to a state that you have nothing to offer. And then nobody, I mean, you know, the system cannot cover you. Then you become a liability at the stage. So it's important that, you know, you need to be strategic in the decision we're making, especially hopping from one place to the other on employment. Look at the economy critically, just like what you said. I mean, you can Google about the company. By the time you search a company, you get various information about them one way or the other, or from somebody who has worked in that place. And if you can find somebody, you know, who can give you some information, get the information, and don't say because they pay you extra money, I jump in there. Just be sure that there's, you know, a lot of values that you can get while you move from one place to the other. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Just a quick one. I have a question for Onkuranti. And before I ask the question, I don't know if you remember this person called Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg being a successful movie producer. Many people don't know his story. Now, he was not doing well in school, and the lecturers were feeling that he was not successful. In fact, he had to be suspended from the university because of his grade for about 3 times from the University of Southern California. But later on, he turned out to be one of the best movie producers, had over 51 award-winning movies. sometimes you might look at it that the academic yardstick doesn't favor you, it doesn't represent you well. Do not look down on yourself. Academic qualification may not be the absolute, the word is absolute, may not be the absolute representation of your true performance and presentation, but it's important. So on that note, I want to add, like, what exactly are you doing in the course of those years you are spending either in your workplace or outside your workplace? Are you improving? When I was at Ibadan, I made sure there was always a program for the staff, everybody to attend, both in-house training and external conferences that they could attend, international conferences, but if those we can afford within Nigeria, they do, and those we can attend outside the country, they do. So on your own, you are still encouraged to use your leave period creatively to attend something. So when we did the recruitment, I noticed that all the people who were pushed to my table, my relatives or people who work in the organization, were not experienced in media or television. And I couldn't turn them down because that's what I'm just there as the boss. I have to do the bidding of the owners of the organization. So I took them, the ones that were quite trainable. And then I had to look outside for someone who had the experience. So I saw the lady, Precious. She had worked with Edo Broadcasting Service. I felt like, okay, with her age and the school she went to and the kind of training she has done, let me ask her to come. So I had to beg her to apply. And there are cases you have to ask people to come and work for you, different from people who are just applying. So she agreed to come. We had to beg and beg for her to go with the pay. Not like she was up there, but I had prepared in my mind that she was ambitious, she was going to leave one day. In the course of being there, she had attended more trainings than every other person. So I wasn't surprised. By the time I left all of them there. They were quite complaining that they don't get trainings as much as I was training them. By the time I left, she had left a few months after I left. She moved to MITV here in Lagos. I was happy. Now, from MITV, she didn't stay so long. She had moved, okay, she moved to Superscreen, from Superscreen to MITV. Now, for each time she's moving and checking her CV to be sure she's improving on herself. So in most cases, she was becoming overqualified for wherever she is. And she has a dream of CNN kind of presenter. So from MITV, she's now in TVC. So if you watch TVC, you see somebody called Precious Amayu. So I wouldn't be surprised again if she leaves TVC for somewhere like BBC or Al Jazeera or CNN, because each time there is that ambition. So do you have the ambition? Now, she was sitting on the same table in the office. They share this workspace kind of split table. There's someone else that works there that doesn't care about any training. He just wants to come to that work till she retires, just get her pay, ask for promotion. When am I due for the next promotion? That's just all the person wants, and people are different. So you want to be the person that is always prepared. What happens to you if the place you are so comfortable? What happens if they lay you off? Are you qualified for the next big place? So my question for Okuroti is this. You said something about one has to go for the other. You know, you have to either be an employee or you are creating your own business. You need to be in one place. I feel that there's usually a time where you as an employee, you have to do something to have something else that brings money to your hand, because your salary may not be a true representation, except those who work in LNG and maybe NNPC. A lot of people are not earning as much as they truly deserve in the Nigerian context. So what is your take on someone who is working, trying to set up a business, maybe with the mindset of quitting one day? Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I said one thing about that, you know, when I said moonlighting. Let me give you a country like Singapore. If you are underemployment somewhere and you are doing jobs outside and you are caught, you find jailed, and then all the compensation that you had for the moonlighting, you will lose it. And that's just very, very kind of society. When you're in employment, there are ways to make money. Nothing is too much and too small to invest. And that's what we call the time value of money. Let's say you started work 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and you have 100,000 naira. 100,000 naira 5 years ago or 10 years ago can buy stuff. Today, what you could afford for 100,000 naira could be about 1 million naira or 750,000 or 500,000. I was in employment for maybe about 11, 12 years. And my early days, I invest out of my salary. And it got to a state that you get return from investment that augments your current salaries. You know, when I say time value of money, they may be selling land for 100,000 somewhere today. In 10 years' time, it may cost 5 million. So if you have invested 100,000 naira now, so you have a lot of investment that you are doing over time that keep on appreciating in value. Excuse me. So it's important. But you see, it depends on our value in the society. You're employed by somebody to work on your site. You're employed with a lot of confidential information. And you're using that to do your own business. That is honesty. You know. And that's what we have with our values. And that's why, you know, whatever brings money, you know, we just forget whatever it takes to make the money. And that's the truth. I have a brother when he was working in Chevron. He was trying to do some businesses that decided on whatever, computer trading, some construction place, all problems. I said, come, you have to make up your mind. It's either you continue to be a full-time employee, you focus on your work and get your career progression. Or you have a part-time thing, you cannot be there 100%. The people you are giving the money, it's all stories, and at the end of the day, you've not really made anybody out of it. And meanwhile, you're having problems to work because you have divided attention. I mean, there's no way you can run an enterprise outside your main job. I mean, let's be realistic. But you can invest. You can invest in other ventures outside your main job. So our problem now is, what do we do with the extras? Let me tell you something. When I started investing, I was investing with my lunch allowance. You know, then I was working next to Wesley House, you know, the current Sterling Towers, and they have a stockbroker there just next door. And I set up, and I could see the value. The more I see the value in what I invest, the more I put in more money. So I'm working, I'm investing. And then also there were, you know, some savings deposits and whatever. So basically, if you eat all your income, you have money to invest. And if you feel your income is too small for you to invest, you never invest. And they just keep on popping. But the money you set aside will always grow. And when you have needs, you have additional to add to some of needs. I mean, basically, I don't encourage that, and I don't believe in it. When I was in employment, I invested with other people, you know, we started ventures, but I mean, that's what I did.
So I think in addition to what you said, so what I know, I guess, in the job market or in employment these days, people typically say you can't survive on just your paid employment and you need to have a side hustle. So so the thing is, I agree with you in terms of non-loyalty. You
you shouldn't be in unemployment and also be doing a side hustle. Similar to what you're doing, I think, number one, and number two, that's taking up so much of your time that you should be investing in your employer. So once there's already a conflict of interest, that's already wrong. I wouldn't encourage that, number one. Number two, if you're working for someone and you're also doing your business and you can't even dedicate as much time to the paid employment, that's wrong as well, because they're treating your employer of the time that he has contracted you to do a certain job. And there are other ways that one can make money on the side, which is, you mentioned investment. You don't necessarily have to spend your time, but you can put small to get more. So I think for me, what I'd encourage people to do is, even if you're going to have a side hustle, number one, it shouldn't be a conflict of interest with the employer in terms of the nature of the job and also your time. Personally, I don't even do that because my job actually takes so much of my time that I can't even think of having another job on the side. However, if one has that opportunity to work for an employer and also do something on the side, you need to bear in mind that you're not cheating or robbing the employer off the time that he has contracted or she has contracted you to do a job. I hope that helps.
Thank you very much. So, like Onkuroti said earlier in his presentation, the time cannot steal from the time. So the time you're giving to work for your employer, it's actually your employer's time. Do not steal from it to do your side hustle. So you should have a way of managing time properly to be able to do something that is not in the conflict of interest. Conflict of interest is where you work in a printing press, you're a good designer. When someone comes to do designs, you tell them to see you at home, you go and design it in your private time at home and submit it. What should have become the benefit of your boss? I had the opportunity of working in a press like that in Kaduna, and there was this particular day we were to close, normally close by 5, 6. I just locked the door to go home when some people came knocking. They were agitated. What do you want? They said they are from MFM. They are doing crossover retreat for the end of the year, and they need photocopies of their prayer booklets. I said, how many copies? They said 1,000 something booklets. Good enough, we had stock of paper and toner in the office, so we couldn't use the printing machine because of time. We had to use photocopy machine. I photocopied with all 6 photocopy machines from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. in the night, over 1,000 booklets. When they brought the money, it was so much. But my parents were worried, like the place is kind of quiet. The church boss had to come and wait for me in the office to bring me home that time. So by Monday, I had placed order to replace every material that I used. So when my boss came and I was handing them, he was sorry, we worked on Saturday evening. This is the money that work. He says a lie. How can you work this much money Saturday evening? How many days you had closed? Because they know every other staff that once it's 6 p.m., there's nothing you will do to beg them. They won't open for you. They are going home. That's the headache of the employer. We come back on Monday. So when they saw the money and they checked, all the papers were intact. Everything was intact, as if nothing happened. They said they didn't believe it because they discovered that other staff were doing things like that, but they would drop the money. And they wanted to give me a promotion. I can't remember what they said. I didn't know that my boss was following me up with phone calls and everything. So when I went to the seminary on my graduation day, he came. He attended my graduation at the same time. He said he's handing over all his businesses to me, that I should inherit it as a gift. All his children are now abroad. He's a retired lecturer at Kaduna Poly. And we're like, there's nothing he wants to do. He just want to dash me. I said, I don't need it. Anyway, he later became a pastor. He said he was taught. Thank you very much to our speakers and our presenters. Please put your hands together for. I pray that the blessings of today's program will live and last long in our lives in Jesus' name. Now, after today's program, the next program we're having is the attitude of a winner, or the attitude of a winner, August 19. Don't forget the date. It's less than 12 days from now. The attitude of a winner. Please bring your friends, bring your loved ones, and it promises to be great to be having it. Is it on site or online? Profuga, On-site or online, the next program? Online. Okay, so let's not miss it. I wish we could do more programs on site, but God helping us will improve on that. So we'll just have a small snack. Tomorrow or another date, we are going to announce in the youth WhatsApp group a movie evening. We're supposed to have a day we'll go to the cinema, not the one we show here. We'll go to the cinema as a family. So if you have time and you can come around, please avail yourself. So if it is tomorrow, please we'll announce it. We'll be going to the cinema. If you have money, you can come. If you don't have, still come. And if you have your business proposals, anyone with business proposals, would you say you should bring business proposal of like 100 million? Because I saw Reverend George dance. Anyone with business proposal, we would like you to submit them to the expos. They would look at them. We'll try and see whatever partners that we have. And when we ask for people to bring contributions, we saw people who brought clippers. So if you want to start a barbering salon, there's that level. Then a hairdressing salon for ladies. I didn't want to announce this before so that somebody doesn't tailor their proposal in line with what we already have in Ghana. That material is available for someone who would come competently use these resources to better their own lives. Many of us didn't have some of these opportunities, so we'd like to gladly give them to you as what God is doing through the life of members of Freedom Baptist Church to you as youth, as environment. And this is why we are a church. So please submit them to the ESCOs. And we're coming to the close of today's program. And we really thank you for taking out of your busy schedule to be here today. We are really, really, really excited. Please clap for your own self. Please clap for yourself. Next year promises to be very great. Next year we'll be doing registration. So we need to know people who are coming. We're going to put more resources into it and make sure it's something that is global. And once again, I thank our speakers. And shall we rise up to pray? I want to thank the ESCOs. ESCOs, you are doing well. Please clap for our ESCOs. I have an army of executives from the president to the VP, the treasurer. The way they work, you know that yes, these people are really Lagosians. And they are doing very well. God will continue to bless you. Let's rise to our feet as we pray and close today's event. Father, we are grateful for a wonderful time in your presence. We thank you for all that you have done. We thank you for your servants, which you have used, whom you have used this day to bless our lives. Father, we pray that none of them will return the same in the name of Jesus Christ. We ask, oh God, that your power, your hand to be upon them, their career, their businesses, their ventures and enterprises, that in all that they do, oh God, that they continue to be a blessing to us in the name of Jesus Christ. For those of us seeking better job opportunities, seeking business increase, we pray, oh God, for wisdom. We pray for your power. We pray for your favor. Resources will be available to us by your grace and mercy in the name of Jesus Christ. Whatever makes businesses to crash and fail, Father, for everyone here and our loved ones, those issues will be far away in the name of Jesus Christ. We ask, God, that you open our eyes of understanding, the right decisions to steer the business in the right direction. We shall not lack in the name of Jesus Christ. Whatever action that will frustrate our businesses, Father, we decree that it will be far from us in the name of Jesus. It will be far from our enterprises in the name of Jesus Christ. If it be an agent from the kingdom of darkness that brings bad reputation, that brings bad luck, that brings bad omen to businesses, they will not come near any one of us in the name of Jesus Christ. Thank you, God, for answering our prayers. Thank you for New Dawn Baptist Church. We pray that you continue to move this church, leadership, and members forward in the name of Jesus. Be thou exalted, O God.